Did somebody say elemental greatsword? Yeah, that's right, elemental greatsword. No, before we reach for the pitchforks, hear me out. So I was doing some, lamenting over at the blacksmith that so many weapons got some really cool new upgrades in the update, and greatsword kinda really just got the Rathalos firesword. And I'm like, it's 210, it's blue, 0% affinity, 1 slot, it's not the worst, it goes white sharpness at 4 handicraft, and it's got a bit of fire. Can I do something with it? But then, I remembered a change to the greatsword moveset that happened in Rise that no one cares or talks about, but changes everything. But before I tell you what I remembered, let me say something off the bat. Look, Element and Greatsword have never gone together. They really are the antithesis of each other. Element favors weapons that can hit lots of times very quickly. Dual blades, bow, whereas Greatsword is inarguably the weapon that actually connects with the monster the fewest times per hunt. Ergo making it the absolute worst choice for element or status ever. And that's basically always been the case. It's kinda garbage. You always just want to care about raw. Until now. Now look, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that this build that I have quite frankly spent way too long perfecting is better than the current best meta raw greatsword set. But what I will tell you is that against Fire Weak monsters, and Ice Weak for the Ice version later on, it is at least as good. Which, given what I just said about Greatsword and Element, is absolutely insane. But it's also completely awesome. So what exactly did I remember? What is this Rise change? Well, you know how after you shoulder charge, you can do your leaping wide slash. It's mostly a repositioning tool, does a little bit of damage on the way, goes the same distance as a normal roll, and it's basically just a nice little bit of utility that we have in our kit. However, in World and Iceborne, this move did bonus elemental or status damage. It was specifically designed for element and status. And while the bonus damage that it did wasn't enough to make a blind bit of difference in any kind of way to any build ever and was completely ignored, in Rise, it's been buffed. It's been buffed quite significantly. Firstly, it will hit an extra time per charge level. So at level 3, if you leaping wide slash, well, you will actually hit the monster 3 times. This is awesome. This actually turns it into a fairly nice bit of damage. 3 times 200 hits on the current best build. A little bit of 600 damage for just repositioning or bailing out of your current position. Yeah, I'll take that. However, not only does it now hit 3 times, and, you know, number of hits is what we want for element, but the extra element damage it does has been increased significantly. So across the 3 hits, it now does 46% more elemental damage compared to its World or Iceborne counterpart, and a near 50% buff is absolutely hefty. So I was there looking at the combination of multi-hits and a massive elemental modifier thinking, hey, could we just spam this with an elemental build and actually, you know, have it be really powerful?
Yes, but actually no.
Yeah, it's a big kinda as the answer. Let me put it in this way. So, as I just showed, 3 times 200 damage on the best current meta greatsword set. For the fire set I'm showing you with this sword, well, look at this. Yeah, 202 on a non-crit, so already more, and 244 on a crit. It's at this point that I realized that yes, I accidentally had Power Sheath buff up here, which of course inflated these numbers slightly. However, it doesn't change anything for the overall scope of the video, as even without Power Sheath, you're still hitting 228 on a crit, which is obviously more, and the point that I'm making is the fact that it is so comparable is insane, because Elemental Greatsword should be garbage, but it's not. Alright, back to it. Now, I don't know about you, but that is an appreciable increase, and it's an exciting increase. But let's not stop there. This is an unpowered Rage Slash in the current best meta build, 940. And this is an unpowered Rage Slash against a fire weak target with this build. 994. Yeah, we're almost crossing the 1000 mark. Now note, obviously, the Nagakuga meta build has 100% affinity, so it's always 940. This build has 50% affinity, so half the time it does do less damage, but still, the comparison here is quite astounding for, again, previously universally historically garbage Elemental Greatsword. Rise has changed things. So, oh, and by the way, Rage Slash is the example here, but this build does use True Charge for a reason that I will explain when we get to the playstyle. But I think it's time to stop, well, teasing you and actually get to the set. Oh yes, behold its glory. Attack 7, because, you know, we're still playing Greatsword here, and Raw will never not be exceedingly valuable. Fire Attack 5, as it can handle it, and that pumps our main goal here. Handicraft 4 to reach that sweet white sharpness for an extra 12% damage bonus over blue. Granted, the sharpness elemental modifiers aren't as extreme, but again, we're still playing Greatsword here, and this helps greatly. Now, granted, this only results in 10 hits of white sharpness, but we really don't mind that too much, because Greatsword still doesn't hit that often, even despite how we're playing this. And the 2 speed sharpening that you can fit with the leftover 1 slots does help alleviate that too. You will find your openings to stay sharp. Weakness exploit for a just straight up 50% chance to crit. 2 focus, as although I prefer playing with 3 focus, it just feels comfier. 2 is the actual amount you need on a Greatsword set. You can get away with 2. 2 is fine. 3 is essentially nice but optional, so that's all good. And then a random bit of maximum might from my talisman that's just kind of left over. This comes together to be a very, very solid set. Now, decoration-wise, you do have a fair list. You need all 3 tenderizers, you need all the fire attack, you need a attack. The talisman that I'm using is a 2 attack boost, 1 max might, 2 and 1, which is a fairly decent talisman, and you kind of will need a decent talisman here. You want essentially 2 attack or 2 weakness exploit with at least a 2 slot, or 1 attack, 1 weakness exploit, and a 2 slot. And I guess if you're lucky enough to have a 2 handicraft talisman with slots, then, you know, you can make this way better. You can change pieces, but that is 1 in billions talisman, so good luck with that. In any case, this ends us in a really lovely place with the Rathalos Greatsword, and, well, we want to put the ramp up of Elemental Exploit on it, as Elemental Exploit is quite frankly ludicrous, and it only even exists on 2 Greatswords, the fire that we're using and the ice that I will show you in a moment. But what it essentially does is when you hit a elemental weak zone that is at least 25, so 25 in this column, you will gain a 30% boost to your element damage. So if you already have a huge chunk of element, which Greatsword thankfully does, that's a big increase. So yeah, very, very pleased with that. This all comes together then to create an incredibly, surprisingly, shockingly hard-hitting and effective Greatsword elemental build. And it still feels weird to say. It really, really does. Playstyle-wise, it's quite simple. We're not using Rage Slash as we can't fit full stun resistance, and using Rage Slash without stun resistance is just an exercise in frustration when you inevitably get stunned out of them all the time. Besides, we want true charge here because we can take advantage of openings much better with it. When the monster's down, when it's flailing, when it's exhausted, when it's having a breather, a true charge will always pump out more damage than Rage Slash because you can't power up your Rage Slash when the monster's not attacking you. Hell, even a fully powered up Rage Slash is still 10% weaker than a true charge. So we're going to be charging up to level 3, timing a shoulder tackle into a monster's attack, and then you make a decision. Is it going to give you enough time to true charge? Well, then we true charge. Is it not quite in the right place, or is it a quick attack? Is it recovering? Well, then we Leaping White Slash, do our 3 big potent hits of elemental damage, and then repeat. So charge, shoulder, either true charge or Leaping White Slash, depending on your assessment of what the monster's doing. Now that's of course a very, very simplified version, but it is the essence of what we're trying to achieve, and it works really, really, really well. But I do grant you that there aren't a huge amount of threatening monsters that are weak to fire, so yeah, it's a little bit anticlimactic. So let's talk ice. And for ice, we need to go fishing and grab ourselves a spear tuna. And then get interrupted by bloody Tetranodon.
A few moments later.
Are you sorry? Are you sorry? Say you're sorry!
I'm sorry, please don't put me in
So, we will be making then the frozen spear tuna. Granted, it's a measly 150 raw, which, you know, oh, that hurts to see for a greatsword, but it does have 70 ice, which is the single highest number of element on any weapon in the game, at least as far as I'm aware. So that's quite an achievement, and when you apply your 5 ice attack and your elemental exploit on it, that starts to get to ludicrous numbers that, yes, can compete with the fire version, and yes, with the meta raw greatsword, though it will be a slight bit less than both of them, but still definitely works well enough to say that, yeah, ice element with a frozen fish is good. The build, however, does need to change, as you cannot reach white sharpness, and thus the handicraft is kind of wasted, and in that case we end up essentially just using the current best air quotes build. However, we add ice attack to it, and the cost of that is just dropping a single focus, the stun resist, and the speed sharpening, and that takes us to where we need to be. And again, you play this with the very similar style, shouldering and true charging or Leaping White Slash. So there you have it, guys. That is Elemental Greatsword. Actually, not just okay, I guess, maybe, but genuinely in the right situation, in the right matchup, as good as your normal best, just hit 'em hard with pure raw. And that is very special. That's very cool. And honestly, based on that even being a thing, part of me thinks there's every chance that at some point in Rise's cycle, some new monster in some update will tip the balance, and perhaps Elemental Greatsword might actually be number 1, and that, that's a scary thought. Let me know what you guys think, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.